My throat is absolutely dead. Perhaps the worst thing in the model railway hobby that could happen to anyone, if you would ask me, is receiving a model or purchasing a model and it looking great, but it being a horrible runner. So today I want to show you what I think is perhaps the best looking Hornby steam locomotive, whilst also being their worst runner, and I'm afraid to say that it is the ex-Great Eastern Railways S69. Nice. Where do I start with the B12s? The B12s were, of course, an extended version of the very famous Claude Hamilton 440s, given a longer boiler and an extra driving axle. But what makes the Hornby model so good? Well, it has full interpretation of the valve gear in between the frames, it has a fully detailed cab. I coincidentally have fitted the driver. The gauges aren't painted, but oh well. The whistles and safety valves are turned metal, and it even has the flashy opening hatch. It is posable, however, I can't hang on. Construction-wise, however, this model has one major ace up its sleeve. Let me demonstrate. This model is completely, the boiler at least, is completely made of die cast. The cab is the only plastic thing that's on the engine. And for a long while, this was my favourite model because it's an engine that's preserved, it's an engine that I really like the outline of, and come on, the B12s, they do look a bit like toy trains. But my love for this model very quickly vanished when, after being fitted with DCC and being allowed to run on the big layout, she struggled to keep a steady pace. She would run along and then slow down at certain points, and it was at odd intervals, so I could never, tell like, now she's going to slow down. However, then, when I took her to a friend of mine who has a rolling road, I do not have a rolling road, to test a few things, smoke emanated from the tender. By this point, I had already taken out the DCC chip, and funnily enough, this DCC chip now lives on in my Hornby J36, and that was the moment I knew she's done. I don't trust running this thing anymore. I don't want this thing to start a fire. Mind you, I've already taken the model apart and I could not get the motor out, and I'm too afraid to break something, so that's no good either. And somewhere deep down I hoped that this was just a fault with this model. And when a quite notable online shop had a B12 for sale, I thought, you know what, I'll have a go. And I did. I purchased a BR Black, Transitional Black B12 again. And as soon as I put her on the layout, I turned the cameras on, or at least my phone, because I wasn't going to risk it. And I was gutted when the engine, not even after an hour of running, started doing the exact same thing. It started speeding up and slowing down at odd intervals. And I twisted and turned that night. What should I do with this? Because, my initial plan was maybe if the other B12 does well, I could transplant all of that locomotive's guts into this one. Sadly, though, I did decide, maybe this is just a problem with the B12s, Hornby's B12s, and I sent it back. And to this day, out of sheer disappointment, sheer anger, I put this thing back in its box, and I never took it out again. And if you have a look at the state of the layout where this thing was on when I was running the new B12, you can see how long ago that was. Now, I'm struggling to find a use for this thing. What I could do is take out or disengage the motor from the drive, take out the pickups, and basically only have this running as a double header, as the other engine is applying power. The other thing I could do is disengage the pickups and just have this sitting in the shed, because it is really lovely. And it's not even as bad with the Bachmann J72, because that one does run, although poorly. This one just doesn't do anything anymore. I've tried it and it doesn't move. So now I'm more or less struggling to find a reason for this thing still being in my collection, but somewhere deep down I don't want to give up hope for this thing. And when a certain reviewer showcased their experience with a B12, ironically the same version that I had purchased, I noticed that, oh dear, this is just some universal thing. They have a crappy motor, and now I'm stuck with a gorgeous model that doesn't do anything anymore. And on the one end, the boiler is very small. They hardly could have fitted a larger motor to this, but I am just disappointed. This thing has been in my collection for 3 years now, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with it. On the one end, I don't regret this purchase. I still love the outline of the model. However, I also can't stand to look at it. So my question really should be, what do you do when a model is gorgeous but it just doesn't work? Do you set it in the cabinet to look at? Do you put it in the box and never look at it again? Do you try and offload it to someone else who may be able to fix it? I would love to hear your thoughts. So for this one, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. I can feel my throat going. I'm sorry that I haven't uploaded in a while. I'm working on America Sings and another railway animation. So I hope that this thing fills the gap a bit for content, because I don't like leaving you guys hanging. So thank you for watching again, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheerio.